Go.
Hello, and welcome to the Balanced Mama Project Radio. Today we have here with us, it's Dr. Say speaking right now, and we also have Dr. Val.
Hello.
And we wanted to welcome our special guest, Charnise Littles. She is a mom, guardian, birth doula, and international board-certified lactation consultant. She is born and raised in PG, y'all, and has over 10 years of experience in maternal and child health, providing lactation, doula, and organizational support. She received her education in health science, health education, and public health from Howard University and George Washington University. And we are excited to have her here today. Hey, Charnise.
Hey y'all, how are you?
Good. Good to have you.
So happy to be here.
And so today's conversation, we were going to do a deeper dive. I know folks have asked me, well, what is a doula? What do they do? What is the role? We know that you, my dear, are a doula and a lactation consultant. So can you tell us a little bit more about what drew you into birth work? And then what are doulas? What do they do?
Ooh, what drew me into birth work? That's a little bit of a story. I'll shorten
Oh,
it
we
though.
have time. Go for it.
So when I was at Howard, as Howard does, we are always looking at things from the perspective of like Black maternal health more than anything else when we're studying health science.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing an intensive, like a research intensive on maternal and child health. And it was so interesting because they broke down kind of like all the stats that are super popular right now when it comes to maternal mortality. We were breaking down all these different interventions, these different organizations. But the stats really blew my mind when I made the connection between kind of like what Black women in the US were dying from the most at the time, how we usually birth in the US within this like past decade and a half. And then when I was looking at all of the protection factors of breastfeeding, and then I thought about like my family history and what I saw the women in my family do, and I was like, wait, we're not doing the things, but we weren't also too far removed. So my family's from the South.
Ah,
And I was like, we have a lot of interventions in our births up here, but once I go and talk to my dad and their siblings, like they were born at home. And
Mm-hmm.
then I thought about like, do I even see breastfeeding in my family? And I was like, maybe from my Hungarian aunt, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a lot of very different intentional choices, like based upon what I learned. And it kind of thrusted me into supporting families as they came upon their journey. I was a senior at Howard when I was pregnant with my son. So right in the thick of learning all of the things, but also in this very interesting dynamic where everyone had their kids after me, and I loved educating anyway. And so we got to have these really good conversations about like, what does it mean to make different choices? What choices do we even have to begin with? What does
Mm-hmm.
that look like and feel like when we're choosing choices that maybe our families didn't choose? How do we educate and empower ourselves to reach our birthing goals? What are our birthing goals? So we started having like really, really great conversations that led me to being in the birthing space a lot with friends and family members. I thought that was normal. I thought you just pulled up.
Like I'm here.
You know?
What's up? How you doing?
I thought that was a normal thing. It just, I don't know. I thought it was normal. And so people were like, no, girl, like people don't just go to deliveries. Like you're invited for a particular reason and we like you here. Try doing it for
Oh,
other folks.
nice.
And I was like, okay, let me see how it works doing it for other folks.
Yeah. What did that look like when you first started showing up for our friends and family and such? What did that look like?
Yeah, the very first time was actually before I had my son, which was so interesting
Okay.
because it was like it was my aunt calling me and being like, "Hey, I'm in labor. I'm going to the hospital. I'm finna pick you up." And I was like, "Huh?" But I actually lived on the street, like of
Yeah.
the hospital. Like
Oh,
I lived in
okay.
Howard. I lived on Irving Street. At Star Washington Hospital Center is on Irving Street. She was like, "Hey," literally, she was like, I'm gonna pick you up."
Yeah.
And so I went, and of course, this is like no like real capacity, wasn't a doula at the time, didn't really know what a doula was at the time. But
Hmm.
thinking about how I was in the room and the things that I did in the room, it's like you were definitely a doula in some capacity. Maybe a sibling doula, but definitely like a supportive person who was always there to make sure that the family had what they needed to feel like they were the most successful and the most happy in this experience. So that was really cool. That was the first time. Other times it was truly like, hey, I'm in labor, you're going to be there. Have your rest,
Nice.
I'm going to be there.
Volunteer.
And
Yes.
so
And were you there to advocate, to help advocate, like in that regard, before you even went through your doula training? Were you there just to be like, listen, tell me what you want, and I will make
Make it
sure that
happen.
happens?
I
Or
don't
were you
even
there
know if I was that in tune at
like,
that point. Like, I
yeah,
don't even
yeah.
know if advocacy was on the mind. I definitely have, in general, like a serving heart. And I
Hmm.
think in general, it was like, hey, like this is a very transformational experience. This is a very hard experience. So I'm here to show up for
Hmm.
you in
Hmm.
whichever way you need me to show up for you. I think that was the basis of me
Yeah.
being in this space. And then, of course, as you learn more, you can advocate more. I love holding space for folks' questions to be answered. And so I'm always going to hold space for people. I'm always going to like center their comfort and their voice. And that's a lot of what doulas do too. But that was definitely before training, before I had that like more formal
Yeah.
education on how do we truly do this in the best way possible.
Yes. I just think about how in other cultures across the world, people are doing this. To your point earlier, people are doing this all the time, showing up in community with individuals who are birthing for the birthing process. And we like to we're gonna capitalize on training folks up and making sure people have education around it. I think education is important, and I also have to say that people are doulas without having that doula certification. They're two separate things, right? Like people who are in various parts of the world, they're showing up as doulas and they're just as important in the doula space as one who might have gone and gotten the education. You were doing doula work in your own right before you even went and got your certification as well. And
Yep.
so I just want to hold space for those who are holding space for others in the birthing realm, who maybe haven't had that formal training as well. But can you speak more to what's involved? Once you've gotten that formal training, what then does it really look like to have someone who's certified as a doula?
Yeah, I love that you held space for that. I tell folks all the time, do people absolutely need a doula at their delivery? No. People absolutely need support. People absolutely need love. People absolutely need to feel safe. Do you need someone with this title? Absolutely not. I've traveled a bit learning more about birth work in other spaces. And the best part about telling folks what I do is them being like, what's that?
Yes.
It
Yeah,
is the
let them
best
know.
Yes.
part whatsoever. I'm like,
Let them
oh,
know.
I'm a lactation consultant. I'm board certified. I'm a
Yeah.
doula. They're like, huh? And I love it
Yeah.
because, like what? And I love it because who is that truly? Like, that's truly like your mother, your auntie, your sister, your cousin friend.
Mhm.
It's the people, it's the community. And so I love that this is all made up.
Everything is though, right? Like if we want to be existential, philosophical, everything's made up. No,
Yeah,
but
for sure, for sure. But yes, the formal parts of it is pretty cool too, because
Mhm.
of course we have our own experience, and well, as moms who have experienced birth before, I had my own experience in terms of what it looked like to be pregnant, to birth, to be in postpartum. And all of that good stuff. But the best part about the formal training of it all is getting outside of that self centeredness and really pulling through what are the experiences of birthing people and what does that look like and what can that look like and what does that look like in my community and what does that look like nationwide, in terms of what we're advocating for and what we're supporting. So I think that's where the formal education really lies. It lies in what training is present to present to you the unbiased realities of what birth feels and looks like at this moment, the true options that people have, the different pathways that people have to birth,
Yeah.
And how do we understand that so we can help the families that we're supporting understand that too? I'm huge on if you don't know the choices, you don't really have a choice.
That's
Yes,
correct.
absolutely.
Big
Say
on that.
that for the people in the back.
Big
Yes.
on that. It's like,
That's
oh yeah, I want to do this. And it's like, okay, well, have you heard about this other thing? No, but I'm just going to do this. It's like, okay, well, we have to talk about it because
Mhm. You have to
if
know your
not, you don't
options.
even know why you're choosing what you're choosing,
Yeah,
you
Yes.
yeah,
know? So
very
I
true.
love having the approach of we're going to understand all of the things that possibly could happen or that all the options that possibly exist for you during this birthing process so that, they can really choose and say what's what.
That's a
Uh,
major distinction, just between, I think people can be in the birthing space, and without that training, they then might lean more into experience from the self. And it sounds like a lot of your training is understanding the birthing experience for birthing people in general and being able to express that and share those options, as opposed to maybe showing up in this space from your perspective and from your lens. Does that sound?
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, not that my experience doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter. Like there are so many doulas who have not given birth
Yeah.
themselves that are
Yeah,
phenomenal, right?
totally.
And so it's like we really have to take ourselves out of it to,
Yes,
yeah,
because everyone's experience is different. What were we going to say,
it
Dr.
is.
I was gonna harp on even when you said for people in the back, and if you don't know your options, then you don't have a choice. And
Hmm.
a lot of times, even if you're given your options in the heat of the moment, typically during the process of birthing another human is not the time to get option A through G. And so when I'm hearing you talk about it, I'm like, yes, knowing the options beforehand, when you can think about it in your logical mind, when you're not
Hmm.
under stress, when it's not your nervous system isn't like, ah, I'm trying to get this done. Like
Yeah.
when you're in a conscious space to think, process, say, yes, this is what I would like, this is what I would not like. Okay, if I don't get option A, I'm fine with option B, C, or D. Like, and actually work through the processing. And I
Hmm.
think, at least even from what I'm hearing from you, so yes, having a doula to say, "Hey, these are the options," or birth worker support of some sort saying, "Hey, these are all the options." Family support, "Hey, these are all of the options." And I think that education background is so helpful,
Hmm.
where it's like we've gone through these things. If you select option A, some extra things that might come with it in the drop down category is B, C, and D, just so that
Hmm.
you know and then can say yes or no. And so I like that you highlighted that because I've had people come in. I'm like, well, what do you prefer for your birth? And they're like, I'm just going to go to the hospital and have the baby. And I'm like, well, how?
Yeah,
Like, do you
people
Hmm.
want
say
birth
that. They're like,
control?
I'm just going to go to the hospital and have the baby. I'm just going to take the lead of the people in the room, which I understand not wanting. Sometimes people do that out of not wanting to have the disappointment and
Mm.
actually choosing what they want and then experiencing something totally different. But I
Hmm.
hope that if there's someone along them, kind of like guiding them along the way, they see that, like, plans change and there can be flexibility and still a lot of satisfaction and empowerment in it at the same time. Yeah,
Yes.
that's possible. I love that you mentioned, like learning in the room. I tell my families all the time, my goal, like if I have one goal for everyone's delivery, my goal is making sure they're not hearing anything new for the first time
It's not the
while
time.
they're in their birthing facility or in their
Right.
birthing space. I'm
Right.
like, no, 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 no. We can't
Mm-mm, that's
process.
not the time. Hmm.
It's not the time at all. But if I were to give kind of like a formal, I guess, like what is a doula? The
Yeah.
formal answer of the things. It's more so along the lines of doulas are people who give information, education, support, advocacy to families that are going through their perinatal period. We are guiding and ushering them along the process while they're pregnant, while they're in labor, while they're in the postpartum, while they're breastfeeding, while they're bottle feeding, as they are considering getting pregnant again, while they're trying to conceive. There are a lot of ways that doulas show up for families, but it's truly about support and education and advocacy and really just holding them while they're going through this process that can be transformative regardless of the outcome. And so we're truly just people who are equipped to guide them. We don't speak for folks. I never speak for my families. I never make decisions for them. But I am always present for them. I'm always holding space for them and just keeping them in mind. So we are around, and it looks like so many different things. The doula realm has expanded tremendously. You're going to hear things about sibling doulas, about death doulas, birth doulas, postpartum doulas, fertility doulas. You're going to hear all the things in terms of how we show up, because truly a doula is like a person of service.
Like, how can I help? How can I support you in this time period? In your experience, or I guess there's a lot of ways to support, but what is emotional support for moms? Like, what do you typically see they most need? And everybody might be different during that pregnancy and postpartum time period. What usually gets overlooked? What's like a need that is typically there?
It was hard. I don't know about overlooked, but I think something that everybody does need is just, what's something everybody needs? Everyone needs consistency. So the special thing about doulas, especially in our health systems, is that when you're delivering in a hospital, which most folks are, you are always meeting new people. There's people on shift who's off of shift. There's people who are with you who are pulled into other rooms. There's a doc on call. They're no longer on call. There's a midwife on call who's getting replaced in 24 hours. And so labor is ever changing in terms of who are the hired support people from facilities. And sometimes you just need that constant. Like, who is going to be here with me, supporting me, no matter what? And that is what I think is super powerful about doulas, especially in hospital settings, where it's like, it doesn't matter who comes in and out of here, I'm here. Like, your support person is here, I'm here, your family is here, they want them there, and we're consistently going to be there for you. And I think that's the part that, just other systems and other roles can't necessarily like replace or eliminate or duplicate. It's really hard to do that sometimes.
That is so true. That is so true. I'll have mommies coming in saying, well, I'm like, do you like your team? How's it going? They're like, well, I met one doctor last time and then I saw a different nurse, and they're like, I have a preference for who I want, but I also understand they might not be there. And so being able to say, but this person,
change.
this person will indeed be there. There is a lot to be said of consistencies in many areas of life, but also, and especially for something so significant. Yeah. Consistency is a good one. Do you, or I should say, what is one of the biggest misconceptions you think people have about doulas?
That we're midwives. That's the
That came quick. That's fair.
That you would have a hand in physically birthing the baby.
For sure. And have a hand can sometimes be misinterpreted. We might not have a baby head. We got a leg. We got a foot. But but what I do not hold is the clinical responsibility of the breathing and the well-being of the baby and the birthing person, right? So like doulas do not have the role of like checking to see how dilated they are, or making a decision as to whether this family needs to be hospitalized or not,
Right.
or stuff like that. We're not doing CPR, we're not resuscitating the babies if something is going wrong. So it's really like the clinical side of things, like that clinical responsibility of the health and well-being of baby and the birthing person we do not hold. The midwives hold that. The doctors hold that. But that is the biggest misconception for sure, is that we are the midwives. And it's really interesting because even when we're in the home birth setting, I tell folks all the time, it's like, we are we are working in tandem so beautifully, like all the time.
Yeah.
But I am not them and they are not me. And
That's
neither one of us want to cross the line. And I
no.
love that. I love it.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it. It creates such a beautiful dynamic
Yeah, lots of synergy for sure, it sounds like.
for sure.
That's awesome. So tell us about moms who may be, balancing careers and family responsibilities, pregnancy exhaustion. What's some practical advice that you would give to them for slowing down and listening to their bodies?
Yeah. So folks who are in the postpartum period who are like had baby, returning back to work, thinking about life, my biggest thing for them is building the team. So, okay, so like when we're thinking about like birth, everyone's always making the decisions of like, okay, where am I going to deliver at? Who's going to be my provider? Am I going to have a midwife? Am I going to have a doc? Am I going to be home? Which 20 hospitals that I'm around, like where am I going to be? And so we're building kind of like that clinical team a lot, but we don't necessarily think about building the postpartum team. And
Mhm.
that is where I feel like people go wrong. Mainly because, pregnancy is long, is a journey, it's a lot. But when I think about postpartum, I honestly, personally, some people are going to be like, postpartum is a year, da 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 da. I'm like, postpartum's forever. I'm still feeling it.
Forever.
It is. It
Forever,
is
ever,
forever.
forever,
You
ever.
don't go
Forever. And you
unbirth
have
It
to,
is.
huh?
you don't go unbirth your child. You still birth
I can never do that. He can't go back up.
Right.
that.
Nope.
You're out.
Nope.
It's
You're
way
here.
easier than me.
You know?
Can't do it. And so I'm always like, we have to build a team of folks who are really going to show up for us or who are going to fill in the gaps of the things that we feel like we need to know or like want to be successful at. And so that's when we think about the postpartum doula, we think about the lactation consultant, we think about our pelvic floor PTs, we think about our nutritionists, our dietitians. We're thinking about just all the things. I'm like, who else
Hmm.
is out there? Our massage therapists,
Hmm.
our chiropractors. Like, there are so many people that our mental health professionals. There are
Yes.
so many
Hmm.
people that we have to like make sure we are tapped into
Yeah.
because the period itself is just so sensitive.
Yeah.
We are going through a million changes physically, hormonally, emotionally. We are figuring out how to integrate ourselves back into life. How are we going to show up for ourselves and our families and these babies and
Hmm.
these careers? It's a lot of decision making. And
Yeah.
so we really have to make sure we're intentional about building the team before baby's born so
Hmm.
that we're not scrambling to figure out and do the research when we're actually in the thick of the need. I'm like, before the need, we need to
Yes.
prepare for all of the things.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
So building the team is something that I'm always like, we got to do that.
Hmm.
Yes, and I love that you said beforehand. Yes, just like birth is not the time to hear something new or while you're trying to birth someone postpartum when you are trying to figure out when you are nursing, sleeping, eating. There's already enough decisions to make. I'm sure choosing a team is not
For sure.
what someone wants to do.
Mm-mm. At that point, you're surviving.
Yeah,
You don't have
and
to,
survive well.
you know.
I was gonna say, is there a simple comfort item or postpartum essential that you typically will swear by or say everyone should consider having this?
Yes. Oh my God. My biggest one is a baby carrier.
Ah,
It literally changed my life. And it's the one where it's like long, that one long, crazy long strip of fabric that's super
Yeah.
heavy
yes.
that you have
Yeah.
to
Don't
learn
it
how to
Correct.
get it together.
Hmm.
I'd be like, learn how to get it together because once you know, you're never not going to know. It's too
Yeah.
crazy. So once
Yeah.
you know, you're going to know forever.
There you
But it
go.
was such a big thing for me. I was definitely a mom who was exclusively breastfeeding. I just felt like I was always holding the baby, which I wanted to do. I had no problems doing it. But at some point, I'm like, how am I going to cook?
Yeah.
And how am I going to like get out the house? And how am I going to feed myself? How am I going to hold the remote? It was just a
Mhm.
lot going on.
The
And
remote is it.
so,
Mhm.
yeah, and a lot of times the stuff is just sitting there and we're not thinking about it and we're not like practicing with it. But I really do my best to teach all of my families like on like that second postpartum visit, like, okay, we need to get up and we need to wrap this baby to you because it's
Mhm.
I felt like I got my hands back and then I cried about it. Because I was
Oh,
just like, oh my God, do I have hands that I can use? And the
Right.
baby is still on me and quiet and happy. It was life changing. So if I ever go to a baby shower, I give them a wrap at least. And then if I'm ever doing a postpartum visit, and I've seen them at least once already,
Mhm.
um, then we're wearing that baby.
I
I
love
know
it.
that's right.
I love it. We're the baby. We're the baby. I probably should have had a wrap. I definitely had a carrier, and my daughter did not love the carrier. But
Oh,
I got really good at doing things with one hand. It got to
yes,
the point
as
where
we
I was like,
do.
yeah, I was like challenging myself. I was like, I wonder if I can do X, Y, and Z with just one hand. But no, I agree with you though. Carriers, where it's at. It's where it's
I
at.
know. I love the carriers, but I'm always like, we need them to be a certain weight at some point before the carrier, before the
Mhm.
snaps.
Yeah, yes, 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 for sure,
Yes.
for
So I'm
sure.
And
like, get the wrap.
wrap the snugglies. I know they're so teeny tiny.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
And they lay in their hammock. Yeah.
Yes.
Babies are in a hammock. Okay. Earlier, I know we talked about, or at least uh, spoke a little bit about the mamas who are like, I'm going to show up and then whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Do you also get the mamas who are like, okay, I'm trying to make the perfect plan for
Mm.
birth? How do you encourage them to also be flexible but
Oh,
empowered and informed?
of course. I'm like, I'm in the DMV. It's type A mamas and birthing people all over. We got lists, okay?
Yes.
Mhm.
The lists and preferences can be plenty. Um, it's interesting. So I always empower people's lists. I think it's so great to have a choice. I think it's great to have a plan.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times people lean on like the word preferences, like this is what I prefer, and we're kind of gonna go and just see how
Mhm.
this rolls. But I actually do like a plan. I'm like, I like
Mhm.
calling it a plan. I think we need to plan the things. Like, if this is what the plan is gonna be, like, we have to know what we're working towards. Of
Mhm.
course, if anything shifts, that is why we have the session where we talk through what all of these options are and what
Mhm.
all of these options can mean.
Mhm.
Because if there is a change in plan for whatever reason, I want them to know what we're doing and what's happening, and what the options are from there. Of course, we always talk about it and remind them. I remind them of what they said the plan was, even if they want to change the plan, which is
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
Mhm.
Perfectly fine.
Mhm.
But I love it. I don't think there's ever a birth plan that's like perfect. I
Mhm.
think there
Okay.
are things that kind of change here and there based upon what's going on and why. And I also think
Mhm.
sometimes we're like, hey, I thought I would have liked this, but I actually hated it. And
Mhm.
that's okay too. So I love having the plan. I think it's needed. And research shows that when people do have a birth plan, they're more likely to get what they prepared for.
Mhm.
That's good to know.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's perfectly fine. I think people get a little nervous about the birth plan, or sometimes people roll their eyes at it. But we
Mhm.
really have to know what we're working towards. And that way we can kind of like realistically prepare someone to do it, right? Preparing someone for a home birth looks very different than preparing someone for an unmedicated hospital-based birth, which looks very different than preparing someone for like a medicated hospital birth. Like the expectations are
It's-
very different because the experience itself is very different.
Yeah.
And like what you quote unquote need to
Yeah.
make it through an unmedicated home birth is very different than what you need to make it through a planned C-section. And
Sure.
so we really talk through those plans because that's how we get prepared for the experience that we want in the first place.
Mhm.
It allows us to be super honest about like, hey, this is what we need to get here, and this is what's currently happening. We
Mhm.
might not get there if this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like we
Mhm.
have to have those realistic conversations too, which honestly just mimic the conversations that they're having with their providers.
Yeah.
So I love the birth plan because then we know how to prepare. Without it, it's kind of like, okay, well, what are we preparing for? And how is this
Mhm.
going to go? I don't know. So
Mhm.
sometimes, even with the unmedicated delivery, sometimes people are like, I'm just going to like see if I can do it. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But it takes a little bit of audacity. It takes a little bit of like, this is the option, this is the only option, and unless I risk out, here we are. Like that's more of the mindset. So we really have to like prepare the mind, prepare the body, make sure they're not too high risk to even deliver at home, and
Mhm.
really talk through just what is this experience going or could look and feel like.
So speaking of preparing, how do you ask moms to prepare mentally and emotionally, not just physically, for birthing?
Yeah, my favorite thing is telling them that they need a therapist if they're going to work with me. And I have other resources. I'm like, it doesn't matter what insurance you have. I know someone who takes it, and you absolutely need to have a therapist if you absolutely expect me to be there.
That's real.
Mainly because birth brings up a lot. It brings up
Yeah.
a lot of past
Yeah.
trauma. It brings up a lot of things that we never thought about, that we probably never addressed. I
Mhm.
think it's more great for the couple to do it together or to engage in therapy together versus just the individual birthing person. Both is great.
Yeah.
But I love it because sometimes we think we want to do things one way, and our partners are like, "You doing what and why?" And I'm supposed to support
Mhm.
it. How? And I have a problem
Mhm.
with that because X, Y, and Z. And my mama said, blah,
No.
blah, blah.
Right.
It's
Right.
a lot, right? And so we really have to prepare for that. I've
Yeah.
seen so many different family dynamics, so many different, um, kind of just like almost like previous experiences in families pop up that
Mhm.
like manifest in some way through the pregnancy and through the birth. And I'm like, if we're going to get ahead of it, we need to prepare with the professionals who are experts at preparing for it.
For
And
sure.
so doulas are also resource centers. It's like, okay, let's make sure you have the people to talk through what is going on.
Mhm.
So for the emotional side, it's definitely that. I
Mhm.
also realized during COVID, I
Mhm.
don't like being the only person in the room with the birthing person. They need their like chosen supporters outside
Yeah.
of their doula too.
Yeah.
So even if it's like, oh, I'm only having one other person and the doula, or like my friend, my partner and the doula, that's fine. But just me, I am not enough.
You're like, no, no,
Can't do it.
needs to be, yeah.
Like you have to have that other person that you have
Sure.
this very like strong connection with as well, that's
Sure.
able to show up and support you from home as well if possible.
Mhm.
So I'm like,
Mhm.
if they have a friend or a partner
Mhm.
or whoever, a cousin that can come through,
Yeah.
I'm always like, we need your doula plus another.
Yeah, there's something to having someone who's known you for X however long, your whole life or however long, being there with you during that time. I think that's really, really special.
I'm glad that you also mentioned having friend, family, partner, some other type of support. I've
Mhm.
definitely had moms come into the clinic and say like, I'm like, well, who do you plan to have with you? And there was one I remember very, very specifically. She was like, maybe my best friend, but she might not be able to make it. But maybe my sister, but she also might not make it. I was like, are you sure of anyone coming? Would you like to consider a doula? So even hearing you say like, yes, doula support is there, but also like, if there is anyone who possibly can, then just keeping that in mind. Maybe
Yeah.
having a roster or something. Because I had a couple mommies where I'm like, well, who's coming? You want to have someone.
Someone.
No one is not an ideal option.
Mhm.
For
Mhm.
sure. Gotta have
Definitely.
someone. I
Yeah.
miss pre-COVID times. I feel like I had like 8 people in the room at one
I
point. It
know.
was a
Yes.
party.
Yes. Yes. Setting the vibe, setting the
Set
mood.
the vibes until it got too real, and then
Yeah. Then
they
some
had
people
to
gotta
go.
go. Yeah, some
No,
people gotta go. You gotta go to the waiting room. Can't be here.
Hmm.
Um,
the hand
well,
gave away with you. I'm sorry when
yes.
I saw your hand
Yes.
away with you.
Away. Bye. I'm quick to do the away. Bye. Um, so, Shanice, this was wonderful. Before we ask you how people can get in touch with you, finish this sentence. A supported mama is a mama who.
Ooh. I would say a supported mama is an educated mama.
Ah, yes.
I don't know if people can hear my snaps, but I'm snapping. That's great.
I
I
would say
love it.
that. There's a lot of versions of it, but I feel like all
Yeah,
the versions lead to someone who just has more knowledge and more empowerment.
100%. 100%. Tell us, how can listeners get in touch with you if they are looking for doula services, lactation services? How can they get in touch with you?
They can either go to the website, which is birthandmilkco.com, or they can hit me up on Instagram, same thing, at Birth Note Co.
Awesome. Wonderful. Charnise, this is perfect. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it having you here. Until next time, Mama, stay balanced.